Alright guys, so here you go. This is me casting with the Seasir Cast X and the AceHawk CU double combo using the ultralight tip. I've got about 50 meters of 0.6 go. I believe it's like Verivos braid, max PE. But I do some calculations here, and with a 4.69 grams Suriname minnow, I get about 55 feet of casting. And again, this is only an approximation, but that's pretty impressive for an $80 combo. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the BFS Fishing channel. And if you watched that introduction, you saw me actually casting for the first time on video, I guess. But anyways, so we're going to be continuing our look at the Seasir Cast X, and I gotta say that I'm very impressed by this reel still. And so with that being said, I'm going to get you some measurements because I was not able to last video, and then we're going to go ahead and tear this reel down and take a look at what's inside, because whatever they've done to this reel has made a very affordable yet very effective entry-level BFS reel. Okay, so let's get started with some weights. And I've got I got a new scale. The reel comes in at 197.25 grams. I believe the manufacturer is claiming a 198 gram weight, which is pretty impressive. Let me see what that is in ounces. So that's about 6.95 ounces. And then we're going to go ahead and get a weight on the Bfs Spool. So this spool is coming in at around 8.81 grams. And let's just go ahead and see if we can't do that again. Yeah, 8.79. And you know, I haven't done anything to this reel yet. I haven't torn it down. I haven't cleaned it out. I haven't done anything at all. Okay, so I'm going to get a spool diameter because I don't think that the manufacturer had anything. And it's coming in at about 28.04 millimeters. I did do a little bit of distance calculating. I calculated my own inch per turn by calculating measuring the circumference, or the diameter, sorry, the diameter of the spool with the 50 meters of line that I had on it. And then from that, I calculated the circumference and then multiplied that circumference by the gear ratio by the number of handle rotations. And that gave me about 55 feet for, I believe it's like a 4.29 gram Suriname minnow lure. So fairly impressive there. What we're going to be doing now is we're just going to get straight into it. We're going to tear this thing apart, and I'll get you some measurements on the bearings. Yeah, if you guys want to skip ahead to any part, I will try to put some chapter marks in this video so that you guys can go ahead and see. But right now what I want to do is I want to get some spool bearing measurements so that if you do buy this and you ever want to upgrade your bearings, you can, hopefully. So let's go ahead and get this. A lot of grease. Yeah, I'll put that right there for now. All right. So I'm going to set the spool aside, and let's go ahead and zero out our calipers. So inner diameter is going to be about 4.87. Yeah, 4.87. The outer diameter is 10. And the width of the bearing is 4. So kind of an unusual size. I do believe Seasir actually sells orange seal ceramics. I don't know that they're specific to this model, but I'll check, and if they are, I'll leave a link in the description below. But yeah, that's the size of the spool bearing that's on the spool. And then we're going to go ahead and try and get this other bearing out. So bear with me a little bit. I gotta say that you know, I'm not by any means a proficient video editor, and so adding clips like the one that you saw is not that easy. I got this Roro bearing pulling tool, and it's been pretty useful, but I think this bearing might be in there kind of tight. Okay, there we go. This kind of looks to be about the same size. Let me see here. Nope, very different. So the diameter looks to be about the same, but the inner diameter is very, very different. So let's go ahead and get a measurement. 2.8 or 3. And then the outer diameter is again a 10. And then the width is probably about the same. Yeah, at about a 4. Okay, so that's going to be the bearing on the side plate. And I'm going to set that aside as well. I'm going to go ahead and close. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put the spool back in. You can see that there is actually quite a big gap. And here's something interesting. So I did pick up my Seasir Mansory, and I was a little... I have to put out a video on that reel because I was a little bit less than enthused. And, you know, these being kind of cheaper reels, the tolerances are not going to be the best. And so I did once, out of quite a few casts, managed to get my braid in between the spool and the frame. And so I had to actually open up the side plate and kind of, you know, get the tangle out and then free up the line. But on the Mansory, yeah, that reel, I don't know. I have to use it a little bit more. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the video on that one. Anyway, so those are the measurements on the spool bearings. I'm going to set my caliper aside and keep it handy so that we can get into the other bearings in this reel, or bushings, I should say. This one does have 1, 2, 3, 4 bushings in the handles, and so handle knobs, and so we'll go ahead and take a look at those. And it's just a Phillips, and yep. So there's the screw. Use my little handle knob bushing pulling tool, and we'll check to see that these are identical sizes. They should be, but I don't know. So inner diameter on this one is going to be 4. Outer diameter is going to be 7, and it should be about a 2.5. No, 2. So again, a 4 by 7 by 2. And I believe this other bushing is going to be the same. 4, outer diameter 7, and width is 2. Yes, so they are going to be identical. And if you ever want to, you know, upgrade these bushings to bearings, which I don't know if you really want to. Wow, it's got quite a few shims in there that came out. Yeah, we'll go ahead and leave this apart. Okay, let's continue on, shall we? I'm gonna go ahead and set these parts aside because I want to show you guys what the parts are in order to get into the reel itself. So you do have a Phillips screw here, and I'll go ahead and lay these parts out for you. Starting here. And then we're going to use our wrench to remove the nut, retaining nut on the handle. All right. I initially thought that this handle was quite long, but after using it, it actually doesn't matter too much. It didn't bother me while I was out in the water. Okay, so here's your drag star with the clicker mechanism inside. You've got a spring, and then you've got a nut that has a kind of a groove for that spring. And then you've got a single washer, which I'll lay down there. And then you've got a either 1 or 2 spring washers. I cannot tell. Hold on, let me see. These are keyed. yeah, you've got two spring washers, and I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know which camera you are on my phone. But yeah, the two spring washers are kind of opposing each other. And then you have one very thin, well, this one doesn't look like a thin one, but a flat washer there. And then you've got a handle bearing on the inside. I'm not going to take out, well, I guess I will open this up. And there is a bearing on the inside, most likely on the inside of the side plate. So I'm going to leave that right there. Okay, so to get into the side plate cover, it looks like there's, I'll go ahead and remove this spool. Set the spool aside. It looks like there's going to be one screw right there, 2, 3, and then a fourth one on the inside. And it does not look like there are any other ones. All right, so let's go ahead and start taking these screws out. So don't think that these are going to be different sizes, but I could be wrong. And so I'm going to start with the bottom of the frame, and then I'm going to move to the outside bottom. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but if we compare the two screws, they are actually the same size. So I don't think I have too much to worry about in terms of, you know, keeping them in order or anything like that. And here's the third one, and again, same size. The one that may be different is this inner screw, which I don't know if you guys can see here, is right there. So you will need kind of a longer screwdriver to access this one. And screw number 4 is exactly the same size. Okay, so close the side plate, and then we'll slowly take off this side cover. And okay, so nothing, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. It's kind of nice though that the clutch has two little recesses for the pinion springs. So I'm going to take these out, just go ahead and take them out right now. Let's set one there and set another one there. So if you can see here, I don't want to set this down, but I'll do that anyways. Okay, so there's one little seat for the pinion spring there and another one there. And then you got your handle bearing right there. Oh, I'm sorry, this is your pinion bearing. Okay, so I'm going to set the side plate aside. Your handle bearing comes out, and then it's kind of odd that your anti-reverse clutch bearing comes out. It should, in an ideal world, it'd be kind of press fit and pretty tightly snug in there, but it doesn't seem so. It seems like it'll just fall out. Yeah. So if there's any kind of tolerance issues with your handle kind of feeling like it's free, that's most likely where it's from. And so then here is your anti-reverse clutch sleeve that goes onto the main shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out and then see if I can't just leave that in there. All right, moving on. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything really unusual or out of the ordinary. It is a brass main gear, and the clicker mechanism is a little bit different than what we normally see. It uses a metal finger, and it's got like a ratcheting system. So I'll just take off. Oh, and it does not use carbon drag washers, which is kind of interesting. Just gonna go ahead and center everything up, but that is the clicker mechanism for you. And this is keyed. It's got little fingers there. So I'm going to set this main gear assembly down right here. The grease that they're using, normally when I tear down reels, I actually use gloves, but the gloves that I use are black, and so it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. And so I'm just going barehanded, which I think in the future I'm going to use gloves again. I hate the feeling of grease on my hands. And it's probably not good for you. So the grease that they're using, it's fairly low viscosity. It's not like super heavy, like some greases that I've seen out there. But anyways, all right, so let's go ahead and take out the pinion. I'm gonna go ahead and put the pinion right there. It does appear to have a bearing. Yeah, it does have a bearing to support the pinion, which is actually very nice. So the pinion is supported in the spool tension, which is great, and then it's also supported where the spool actually interacts with the pinion. So that's pretty good. I mean, Shimano calls that what, X-ship, right? So the next place that we can look for bearings is going to be in this main shaft assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this. We'll just see how far we can go. But I did not say in the last video that this reel, what the frame material is, and I found out that it is a ABS reinforced plastic. And so, okay, this looks like a bushing. I have never seen that before. I want to see. So there is a screw, and I'm just taking that off so that I can see if this is actually a bushing or a bearing, and then I'll put it back on. But to me, this looks like a bushing of some sort. Yeah, that's a bushing. Okay, so I would replace this one if I were to keep this reel. But I mean, again, it works fine. So this doesn't really do anything for your performance, your casting performance, because this is the main gear. This would just make everything feel a lot smoother. All right, so the measurements on this are 4.83. That's an inner diameter. Your outer diameter is a 9, and then your width is a 2.97 or a 3 millimeter. So yeah, if you wanted to make the reel feel a lot smoother, then that's where I would be swapping out one of the bushings along with either the entire handle or the handle knob bushings. And actually, you know what? Let me get a measurement on. So there's the main gear or main shaft assembly. I want to get a measurement on the. So this is going to be a 5 by 8. I believe that's the same size as Cast King. So I just happen to have my Cast King Valiant Eagle 2 handle, and it's exactly the same size. Man, I want to try putting this on here. But anyways, that's a story for another time. Okay, so let's get back into this. Let's check to see where else we can find bearings. So here's one of the downside with these swing arm side plates, and it's that basically I can't really access this side of the reel easily, but I can see that there is a bushing here underneath this worm gear, and then there is another C-clip there. So I'm going to take off this nose plate so we can get a little bit better look. And the way that I did that was actually to put it back on. Okay. So if you open up this side plate just enough, you can actually look in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There is one tab that goes down right here, and that just kind of has a hole that rests. And if you lift up that tab with a screwdriver or something, you can just pop this off. So here is that front cover, which then will expose the worm shaft and the pawl. Anyways, so this does not have a worm gear bearing, which is kind of to be expected. It does not appear. I am not 100% sure what is on this side. because it looks like there's a washer there, but it's kind of recessed into the frame itself. Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I'm going to stop the teardown. In order to get to that worm gear, you basically have to get this side plate C-clip off. And then once you would get this C-clip off, then you could take out this entire side plate. And then you'd be able to access the C-clip in here on this side of the worm shaft, which would then allow you to push the worm shaft out that way. Pretty similar to other reels. And then you would have the same thing with this worm gear. You'd press it down. This little pin is not really held in place by anything except for this kind of recessed area in the worm gear. And then you pop that out, and then you'd be able to access this side of the worm gear, worm shaft, and then replace that bushing. But unfortunately for this reel, I'm not going to be doing that because I have to take a look at the Mansory. The Mansory is a 11+1 ball bearing reel, and I'm assuming that they have a ball bearing in the worm gear. But we'll have to see, because I've had some very interesting issues with that reel. Anyways, with that being said, that's going to do it for this video. For $37, I am still very, very impressed. You can just swap out the handle and bring this up to a 10+1 ball bearing reel. And it looks like you could even bring this up to a 12+1 ball bearing reel by swapping out the worm gear bushing for a bearing, and then also the main shaft bushing for a bearing. And that would give you a 12+1 ball bearing reel on this particular setup. Yeah, really, really happy with this reel. It is kind of expected that the frame material is not going to be the best material, being an ABS reinforced plastic, but it's at the end of the day, it'll do the job. Very, very happy with this purchase. So if you're looking for a really cheap budget first reel, a gift for somebody, take a look at the Seasir Cast X. It's been pretty impressive so far to me. But with that being said, if you like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. I am still doing a giveaway. When we just got to 1,000 subscribers not too long ago, and so that'll go on until March 2nd. So if you are interested in potentially winning a free BFS budget BFS reel, then go ahead and check out that video. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.